Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the House Human Services Committee. This morning, we are going to do a couple of things. We have a group of students from Randolph Union High School, and they're going to be talking about economic justice as well as housing and homelessness. And first off, for the next half hour, we're going to take a look at S-193. You can find it on our committee's webpage, and you can also see it's under both Eric Fitzpatrick's name, and then there is draft language that is going to be incorporated by the House Corrections and Institutions. That's under Katie's name. So both of those are there. So we have Katie this afternoon to do some markup of this. And as I said yesterday, we are under a time frame schedule on this as time is getting close. So we are going to have a joint hearing on Wednesday with House Corrections and Institutions so that we can get the latest. It is being voted out of House Judiciary on Tuesday. And so we will have Eric and Katie do a walkthrough. They had that scheduled in are getting that scheduled in corrections and institutions. So I said, let's do a joint hearing so they don't have to do that twice. And it's also helpful, I think, for both committees to hear the questions that each other asks, especially around this particular bill. That was that. And so what we are going to do is then our language will be incorporated into the draft that will sit in corrections and institutions. And so that's sort of the dance that we're doing to try to make sure that we get through the bill in the time that we have left. So I would encourage you, if you are able to, because I have never figured it out, that's why I have it printed, to look at both of these documents side by side, because one is amending the other, but it has not been incorporated into the draft that is draft 3.1 yet. So thank you. Okay. So the main focus of the Corrections and Institutions Amendment, which you probably got sort of understanding of since they gave us sort of their outline of what they were going to do, is to remove it out of the Department of Corrections. So there is general consensus that we need to fill the gap in this system when it comes to community safety. But there is not agreement with the administration's proposal to do this within the Department of Corrections. We have I think our discussions have said that, that is not necessarily the best place to do something that is supposed to be rehabilitative, that is, talking about restoring competency and or for people who have a longer stay due to insanity defense or lack of competency to stand trial, that corrections might in fact not be the appropriate place for those individuals because of the level of their disability. So you will see in the draft language that was under Katie's name, you'll see that the Corrections and Institutions Committee is really looking at saying it shall not be the Department of Corrections that solely operates this facility. So let's take a look first, because the pieces that they have there are incorporated a little bit later. So let's take a look at the stuff that Judiciary has done so far. And that's going to be in draft number 3.1 under Eric Fitzpatrick's name. So you can see that there is a change from Commissioner of Corrections to the Secretary of Human Services that reflects that there should be multiple departments that are involved with these individuals, not only the Department of Corrections, which I think is consistent with the conversations that we've had around the table here. I mean, I think they need to do it for whatever purpose, but there's not really a forensic facility being established in the way. Well, I take that back. The proposal that we're putting back is actually to establish a forensic facility that is separate from the correctional facility.
And that would be a lot more costly.
I don't know if it's going to be more costly, but it would require thinking about how they would do that. So the language that we see from corrections as we work through this next week, you'll see they are not saying that it couldn't be on the grounds of a correctional facility, where you have the secure perimeter, but that it should be a separate building that is not run by corrections. But there are some spaces, I think, within the correctional system that, may or may not be being utilized to their fullest extent that could be converted to things like this. So as we see through this, we ask them to come back and tell us how you would implement this. This is not appropriating any money. It's saying, tell us what it would cost, because I think it is important to know what it's going to cost before anything is agreed to. That's the restoration services within the forensic facility being under the Secretary of Human Services. I'm not going to go through sort of the constitutionality and legality stuff because honestly, it's not our jurisdiction, and it is something that the Judiciary Committee has spent a lot of time on and took a lot of testimony on. So let's move to. Oh, I thought I did it. Sorry. I think it's important to make sure we understand that this is a person charged with an offense punishable by a life sentence and has been held without bail, okay? Or if the person's not held without bail, they have a qualifying condition that upon the person's release would create a substantial risk of bodily injury to another. I think that is an important distinction. And we can ask Katie and Eric, to really explain the legalities of that to us. But it is most likely that the people that our committee has jurisdiction for will fall into the second category. We heard testimony from Dr. Ash in his 40 plus years. There was one person that he had that qualified up underneath the area of a life sentence, and that person has actually been served for the last 20 plus years. Morning, Barbara.
Good morning.
I'm seated at the table.
I'm seated at the table. Right at home.
That's our visiting legislator seat.
I can't, that's interesting you have that.
Oh my God.
We find it interesting as well, but that's what we have.
Yes.
We're just going through version 3.1 of the bill you all have been working really hard on downstairs. Right now we're scheduling a joint hearing, Barbara, with Corrections and Institutions for Wednesday morning to have the full walkthrough.
Really good.
May I ask a question, Madam Chair?
Yes.
I think this is a very basic question. I just want to make sure I'm on the right page. When it refers to qualifying condition, and then I look at later in the document for definitions, qualifying conditions on page 16 refers to mental, congenital, or traumatic, however developed circumstances. If we're talking about someone with intellectual or developmental disability, that would fall under the congenital.
And that's where we're going to be proposing some changes. Yes. And actually, it's not only that, because we're I think we had some discussion yesterday about one of the options that we want AHS to consider is the expansion of Act 248. So that individuals with dementia and a brain injury, as well as people with IDD would fall under Act 248. And that would help to close a gap for people with dementia and people with brain injury who are, there's no place to remand them to, nobody's custody at this point in time. So, yeah,
Will we be having testimony from the Secretary of Human Services?
we've already had all the human services. We had all the commissioners in here.
No, the Secretary.
No, they were acting on behalf of the secretary.
Okay, so I can contact the Secretary like via email?
If you want to.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we had every commissioner of AHS in here who has an impact on this. We had corrections. We had Dale, we had DMH.
I know, I heard them all. But
Okay.
I like to hear from the source. I'm one of them. I go to superintendent. I do this all the time.
That's fine, that's fine. Yeah, go ahead, Barbara.
So I just want to share that yesterday, the Department of Mental Health attorney testified in our committee that the Agency of Human Service Secretary cannot be the person who, under current statute, who somebody is sent to the custody of. So,
That's what was my question.
so they
Funny.
are proposing amendments.
Okay.
But I know your committee knows a lot more about whether or not that is
We can make
actually the
it.
case.
I can tell you that we can make that so.
Yes, I
if you want
figured,
to.
we are outside our lane downstairs.
Yes.
And I asked those questions.
Yes,
But that was definitely what mental health was giving us amendments to send it back to corrections with AHS medical director headed in as, so I just wanted to
yeah.
know that.
And, you know, I guess the thing is having this discussion with corrections and institutions, that they are definitely against that. And I think that right now, the way statute reads, yes, there's only 2 commissioners that have civil custody essentially, or the possibility, and that's DMH and Dale. We can make it something else
Right.
because we are the ones who write the laws.
And I did ask why not one of those 2 commissioners and was told, well, it's a very diverse population, which I understand the needs are very different. But I still thought at least the commissioner of Dale knows about her population, and at least the commissioner of mental health knows about that population, where the Department of Corrections really doesn't know about any of that population.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sorry, you should have, I mean, she oversees the whole
Right.
agency of
It's-
human services.
No, exactly. I mean, I think that, you know, if we look at a process map, okay? So a process map at this very stage, okay, if somebody's going to be placed into a forensic facility, we write the laws. We can say that it'll be under the Secretary of Human Services. It's what happens during the operation and potential discharge from that facility that would then go to Dale or DMH. So, you know, I guess I would have a differing opinion about, yes, it's current law. The Commissioner of Mental Health is correct. That's current law. And it is specifically because of the diversity of the population that they are trying to put into this facility that we think it should be AHS. However, we are going to be proposing some changes around people with cognitive disabilities. And I guess I'm going to start to use that term because then I don't have to say all 3. Okay, so it's people with brain injury, people with dementia, and people with developmental disabilities. Okay, so people with cognitive disabilities, we are going to propose are not actually remanded is the word that's being used here to this facility. And so then it potentially could actually be the commissioner of the Department of Mental Health. Because we could be, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, right, and that also was something that was not in our lane, but they were presenting it as it is this is the facility that people will be going to. And I have feelings about that, but they're not necessarily House Judiciary jurisdiction feelings about. But so again, it does seem like knowing that those two things were in lockstep, and that's why they were saying it had to be the corrections. Was
and-
interesting.
You know, if what we pass out of the General Assembly and what we pass out of our various committees is more in line with what Corrections and Institutions has, then it would not be the Commissioner of Corrections. And if our committee's input is taken, then it would be the Commissioner of Mental Health. And that's where we would start. And we would see what happens from there in terms of the future. So, you know, those are the kinds of changes that I think that we're going to be recommending.
I will just wanted to let you sort of know
I
what the
appreciate
greatest
that.
and
Yeah.
latest from yesterday.
It's very helpful. It's very helpful. And I think that we'll have legal counsel make sure that we're understanding exactly. This very first part is something that we need to really understand what it means. Do you know what I'm talking about? Because we want to make sure it's not only people keep talking during testimony. It's people found not guilty by reason of insanity and people who are found incompetent to stand trial. It is not only those people who have the possibility of being in this facility. So I think that we need to really understand what that means, before we start making judgments about that. The other things that, and Lori, I just want to check in, are those high schools? So we don't know if they're, we saw high school students, but I don't think they were these high school students. I don't know. Okay, just let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they're on the road. Okay. So, one of the things that we've had some discussion about is whether the current, the whole structure would be different, frankly, if it's not in a correctional facility. So we wouldn't be looking at WellPath as the provider. We would be looking at, them developing a budget that would include a clinical director and, people that would be outside of WellPath. So, yeah.
Can you say something more about how you're reading this brings in more than just those who are incompetent to stand trial and those who have been not guilty by reason of insanity?
So we have, and we're not going to deal with the people with mental health challenges here, but they have ONH, order of non-hospitalization. If the person is not held, I would point you to page 1.
Yeah.
Line 17 through 20. Okay, so those are people who essentially are not, they don't necessarily have a life sentence. They're not necessarily being held without bail. But they have a qualifying condition, as you were referring to previously, that we are probably going to change. And they would create a substantial risk to another person.
Did you say is not? But they've been found not competent to stand trial.
This is what I'm not clear about. That's why we need to have the attorneys explain that to us. Unless you have language from downstairs.
And.
It is and
And
they have to meet all of those conditions.
Yeah, some of them, there's options, but it's all.
Right.
1 through 4.
And so that was,
It's all are 1 through 4, but you don't have to be a person who's held without bail.
right,
That's,
you don't have,
that's,
right, yeah.
right, that's the part that I'm talking about.
So,
Everybody kept talking about, oh, you're being held without bail. And that's not accurate in the language.
I mean, and all of them have not yet, they've been charged, but they have not been convicted, which is something that I know our committee is looking at. And the crimes have been narrowed down to the ones that have a life sentence. But yeah, but there's no timeline for how Vermont currently does not have a timeline, nor does this bill, for how long restoration would be allowed. So the numbers could,
Right, so you need to have. And the part that's a little confusing is you need 1 and 2. And then you can't be number 3.
Right.
Okay, but you do have to have number 4. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's,
Maybe
it's
the
a,
order of that
it's a
needs to
weird
change.
construct, the way,
Yeah.
yeah, it actually should change. The
Yeah,
order should change. You
it
should say
be all the
1, 2,
things that you
3.
need
This
to
and this.
have, and then not.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how we always give, drafting advice. Eric's probably not used to that, but Katie is totally. I know. I just think it's fun. I know, I'm glad that we do because if it's
It's
not
confusing for
us,
us.
exactly,
Yeah.
that's
5
exactly,
years from now, people are not gonna understand what was meant.
exactly.
Oh,
Um,
so I read it pretty straightforward. The sort of people this bill covers is those that are involved in the criminal justice system of our state. They face or they are facing serious criminal charges. They have been determined to be incompetent to stand trial, or I won't use the secondary word, or their procedures have been found not guilty by reason of insanity. That's what so two specific groups being served are individuals found not guilty by reasonable insanity for possible life sentencing eligible crimes, and criminal defendants found not competent to stand trial.
but you can be held without bail, or you might not be held without bail. And all we're saying is that number 3 should be the last thing in the list. So you have to have 1, 2, and 4. But number 3 is no, you don't come into this facility if you're receiving treatment through an order of hospitalization, or you're subject to an order of commitment to Dale, which I'm going to presume is Act 248, but the citation there. All we're saying, Eric, is that the order of those should be reversed. But what you said is accurate. Yeah. So I guess one of the things that I am curious about, Barbara, because it doesn't say in this section 1, not guilty by reason of insanity.
right, because 2 populations would be here. People who are not competent, it's determined that they're not competent
Right.
to stand trial, and restoration of competency services. The proposal was to deliver those services there. If somebody is also found not competent to stand, guilty by reason of insanity,
Does that come later in the bill?
Section 3.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But they're also housed there until they're considered not dangerous.
Not dangerous. Okay. All right. So the first part okay, it's been a while since I read
It's
this.
clunky, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little clunky. So the first part is all about the non-competency and then restoring competency, and then we deal with the not guilty by reason of insanity. Okay.
Yeah, but the not competency piece and competency restoration strictly pertains to at the time we're considering you incompetent to stand trial. The competency restoration pertains strictly to that. whether or not competency can be restored so they can be deemed fit to stand trial or not. It has nothing to do with other people's disabilities and restoring their competencies. It specifically pertains to that.
Yes and no. We've sort of heard both. We heard, I mean, it's primarily right. It's not like,
Restoration of
what
the
can we
stand
do
trial.
to make this person the best person they can be? It's all about trial, right?
Yes, restoring their competency
Yes.
on whether or not they can stand trial, or competency may not be restored to where they cannot stand trial, which could then generate the not guilty by reasonable
Right.
insanity. and
Yes.
Position on.
And
This is why I really, really recommend that we reach on out and take testimony nationally from the experts in this field, the experts that are running these, how other states have implemented their statutes, instead of possibly leaning back to where we're basing things off of maybe not all of the information.
yes, and definitely some of these things fly in the face of what is considered best practice. And that's been sort of my biggest concern is that we were told that the Yale Center for Psychiatry and Forensic Care is one of the sort of experts. And one of their staff happens to be the medical director at the Howard Center, and she testified in our committee yesterday. But she had a good range of information about how these programs are delivered in other states. I've been trying to do my own research, which I'm happy to share. A lot of it's been in like the psychiatry journals, where community-based, and again, some of these are locked facilities. I mean, because it sort of, this is coming to our committee because of both community safety and of victim notification. And those have tended to sort of be the conversation. And if those are your very, very, well, even if community safety is your primary concern, the rates of people having good treatment options has been higher in community programs that sort of specialize and there's continuity of care. So I can share, I'm happy to put my folder of resources on like Google Drive.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
We're speaking about forensics facility. What separates a forensics facility from any other mental health or correctional facilities? They're dual governance.
right.
And the dual governance separates distinctly clinical authority from custodial authority. Custodial authority is the responsibility of your correctional system. Clinical authority is the responsibility and governance of your mental health. It's a completely, you must separate. Why? Because you don't want the clinical authority. They need to have their own separate governance. That's what drives forensics, not custodial authority. That's where the concerns I'm running into with this bill.
I think everybody's in agreement with you, Eric.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody disagrees with that. Go ahead.
And to extend on that a little bit, and what you mentioned, Barbara, about the national experts and their testimony in your committee yesterday, in order to follow through and actually provide that clinical authority, one recommendation that the national experts made was to create a billing code for providing intensive forensic level competency restoration services, so that maybe even like the DAs could use that billing code to provide services, if, with the adequate, of course, training and everything.
Dr. Raven talked about the continuity of care is really important with these populations, and getting, when the forensic assessment is done, having that also include what treatment is needed and what the aftercare plan is, because people are going to eventually, many of them, go back to their communities And we want to make sure they're getting what they need and there's protection for the community, like orders of non-hospitalization aren't working. People are out and about and
They could work, frankly, if the Department of Mental Health were providing the oversight that is
the
necessary.
services in place.
Exactly.
Yes.
I think that there's a difference between things not not working and the ability. So I think that we have mechanisms. They're
You have the power in this committee to do
well,
that.
actually, it's next door in the healthcare committee, but I think that we might be taking some initiative on that.
That's great.
Because what we heard from the Department of Mental Health is that once their mental health is stable, they have nothing to do with them. And I'm like, okay, that's not really good enough.
Right.
Because you have them in a confined space. You essentially are having control over whether they take their medications or not, or whether they participate in therapy or not.
Right.
Once they are in the community, and so they can be determined to be not dangerous at that point in time. Once they're in the community, they very well could, people have, free will. They could stop taking their medications, stop doing the very things that made them stable. The Department of Mental Health needs to maintain residential as well as therapeutic supervision over those individuals in the community, not just saying we did our job and off you go.
Yes, I
And that's where I hope that we land on this.
yes.
It's not what the Department of Mental Health wants. I'm just,
No,
I'm being clear about that.
I totally know that because I have questioned them quite a bit
Yeah.
in our committee. The other thing that is important is the Indiana Supreme Court case, which I'm sure.
That's White, 1972.
Right, and I'm sure when you get your walkthrough, Eric will talk about that because holding people that are not yet who are not convicted for extended periods of time does bump into other issues. And I know the institutions committee has been looking at that.
So I just, Dr. Raven is the person that you spoke to that testified?
Yes,
I'm just gonna, I think that I might ask Lori to, it looks like she was the first one in the morning, so it should be easy to find. So that we can pop it up this afternoon and listen to her testimony. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you so much. I really appreciate you popping in.
Oh my gosh, I'm so thrilled. It's hard when it's so divided up. And right, yeah. So anyway, thank you. And if I can, I will make these resources available. It's something
Thank you.
I care a great deal about. And you guys are so on it. I'm really, really good.
Okay.
We are returning to
We
this.
try. Okay, so I'm excited to welcome to the House Human Services Committee folks from Randolph Union High School and their advisors. And what we'll do, why don't we do this? First off, we'll go around the room and introduce ourselves, and then you'll introduce yourselves. And the witness chair is there, but more than one person can sit there, and you can pull chairs around if more than one person wants to talk at the same time. So my name is Teresa Wood. I live in Waterbury, and I also serve Bolton, Beals Gore, and Huntington.
Hi, I'm Ray Garofano, and I live in Essex, and I also serve Essex Junction.
Hello, I'm Esme Cole and I represent Hartford.
Good morning. My name is Zon Isis. I live in Guilford and I also represent Vernon.
Hello, I'm Doug Bishop, a representative from Colchester.
Brenda Steady, East Milton, Westford.
Good morning, Eric McGuire, I represent Rockland City.
Good morning, I'm Dan Noyes. I represent Wolcott, Hyde Park, Johnson, and Belvedere.
And Representative McGill.
Hey folks, I am so sorry I am not there. I had an appointment and I am in my car now on my way to the State House. But very happy to have you here. And I am Jubilee McGill and I represent Bridport, Middlebury, New Haven, and Weybridge.
Great. And Lori.
Lori, Morse Committee Assistant here in the car.
We'll go all the way around the room.
Brett Tatro, UVM student interning for Representative Noyes. I'm Beverly Taft. I am Director of Project-Based Learning and a lead in Economic Justice at Randolph Union.
Ted Kelman, I'm a social studies teacher and also co-lead partner of the economic justice class.
Taya Brown, I am a student in the Economic Justice PBL and I am advocating for neurodivergent and other forms of disability and
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shannon Duke. I did an interview with these wonderful people to get my side of things.
I was the one who conducted the interview.
I'm Miles Cesario, I'm a student in Economic Justice PBL. I'm a senior. I'm Jack Mason. I'm also a student in the Economic Justice PBL. I'm also a senior. I'm George Rosalvo. I'm also a student in the PBL.
Great. Well, thank you all for being here. We really appreciate it. First off, I need to know what PBL stands for. Oh, okay. You said earlier. Okay, all right. Should have put that there. All right. I should ask Lori. Our committee assistant is a foremost social studies teacher and
Know all the
she knows all about project-based learning.
know even more acronyms.
So welcome. There's many of you, whoever wants to sit in the witness chair, sort of front and center, and people can gather around, or if you have stories or specific testimony you want to share. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, students, why don't you guys kind of
Gather around
arrange yourselves
Shannon.
around Shannon?
There you go.
Put Shannon in the center and then.
There's a chair there too.
Can I ask just a couple of procedural questions?
Absolutely.
before we dig into it? So we, I think, originally sort of got in touch with Jubilee because of this interview that these students produced. Have you all had a chance to hear that piece?
Actually, no.
I was gonna suggest, would it be okay if we started off by just playing you that? It's about a 3 or 4 minute piece that students put together. And then we wanted to have Shannon just kind of elaborate on some of her experiences. And then students have some. Cool.
That would be nice.
All right.
And one other procedural question, am I allowed to take photos in here?
As long as they're okay with it, yes.
I'm fine.
Yeah, my group's okay, are you?
Everybody else okay? Yeah,
We're on YouTube.
No, okay.
Yeah, you're on YouTube for posterity, so, you know, you'll be able
Make
to,
sure you got my good side.
yeah. We'll be able to share the link out with, your friends and family out there, so, and folks at school. Okay, so we're gonna hear first the interview.
I did the transitional music for. Sorry, edit.
That's okay,
I
great.
love hearing
Thank you.
from
Here
students.
at the Economic Justice PBL.
How's the volume if I'm just playing off my laptop? That's fine. Just ask, yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Justin.
Here at the Economic Justice PBL, we sat down with Shannon, a longtime community member, to address the housing crisis in Vermont. She has experienced the 200% statewide increase in homelessness since 2020 on a personal level.
I grew up here. I mean, I went to this high school. I went to the elementary school when it sat where Du Bois and King is. To be honest, I left high school my senior year, went and got my GED, and then went on to go to college. These past 3 years, I've experienced something I've never experienced, and that's being homeless. Price of rent is too much. That's what's keeping us homeless. We don't have enough jobs to go around. This is our third winter that we have struggled like crazy to find a place. There's not enough housing. It's too expensive. And it's not flexible. And I've got 4 cats, and the apartments don't allow pets. Well, as a same homeless person as any, they're not giving up their pets. They'll live in their car before they get. And even to get an apartment would take everything. And we not have anything left to buy food, buy gas for the truck, buy pets food, buy our food. In the end, we're broke every month. By the 5th of the month, we're broke. This community lacks resources for homeless people. You go to Montpelier, they have a place that you can go where you can take a shower. You can get something to eat. You can charge your cell phone. You can do, if you're doing schoolwork or business, you can sit there all day long. They open up at 8 o'clock in the morning and don't close until 6. They should have a place where people can go where they can take a shower, wash their clothes. You have to get a pot, warm up water on your stove, and then do a sponge bath because you don't have other options. And even though I've lived in this community my whole life, I don't feel a part of it. I kind of feel I'm on the outside looking in because the feeling I get is my voice doesn't matter. I'm just one little voice. There's so many things that could be done. You know, just, excuse my French, if somebody would get off their ass and take a look at the homeless in the community. You can look at a person and not know it. I've lost a lot of my possessions, which sucked. Things I wanted to keep that possibly would come back in life, later in life. I had to let them go. And I've some places I put it in storage and then mice find it. And even to get an apartment would take everything. And we'd not have anything left to buy food, buy gas for the truck, buy pets food, buy our food. In the end, we're broke every month. By the 5th of the month, we're broke. There's $1,200, $1,800 a month. I'm like, you need to bring that down.
Plus the security deposit.
The security, that's the hardest part of getting a place. First month's rent and security deposit. And of course, if you have animals, then they want another deposit. If they will let you have them. They have, houses that are empty. Fix them. Or sell them cheap to like a couple with children and let them fix it up as they go. Just make sure it's habitable. And then from there on in, let them do it. Because then one, it takes the cost of the money out of the community saves the money. And the people living in the house feel like a sense of accomplishment.
Piece was produced by the Economic Justice PBL at Randolph Field High School.
My name is Faye Brown. I did the music and I set up the interview.
This interview is edited by George Rosalvo, Miles Hazaria, Jack Mason. Thank you to Casey Ribold at Capstone for connecting us with Shannon.
That was very helpful and meaningful, and thank you for sharing your story. Honestly, and
It can help.
it's hard to do, especially when you're in a room full of people you just barely met, and we appreciate the students taking on this project and thinking about this from an economic justice perspective and understanding that. So floor is yours. We'd love to hear if you have other comments that you'd like to make.
Well, to cover, something like I was saying in the interview, I've never been homeless a day in my life until now. And
Are you still homeless?
Yep. This September will be our 4th year. And we're stuck.
we were lucky when we got somebody to let us set up our camper on their property. We just have to pay a small amount to be there. And we actually have real electricity instead of having to buy gas all the time for a generator. And then there's buying propane to keep you warm. There've been more than one day in the winter when we went cold. And we were hiding under the blankets with each other and the dog and the cats, and everybody was under the blankets. And if it wasn't for Capstone in Randolph, we would have froze because we couldn't constantly afford that. And being homeless is not something I like to admit. I get judged because, oh, I must be a drug dealer, or I must be an addict, or have severe mental illness. Yes, I have mental illness, but it's being taken care of. I mean, I was abused as a kid. So, and I tried very hard to make it on our own. And we live in a 27-foot camper, which is not in the greatest of shape, but it's livable. My husband and I both are disabled. So therefore, he can't work at all. And I'm limited. So I'm working with Higher Ability to maybe help me get into a part-time job. Like I said, I quit high school in my senior year, got my GED in May, had my daughter when I was 19, and then went to college when I was about 22, 23. It was Woodbury College, but it was here. And I graduated with an associate's and a bachelor's in paralegal studies. And herein lies the problem of small towns don't usually like to have paralegals do their work. They like to do it themselves. So I was like, okay, what happens now? And as I was looking, I got diagnosed with migraine. And my migraines would go days where I just couldn't function. So there's my disability story, plus my back is shot. I can look in my own community and see buildings just sitting. I mean, we have a large building that sits very empty. It's been empty a long time. Why can't they do something with it? You know, make like here in Montpelier, they have the house that you can take showers, you can get a meal or cook your own meal, charge your cell phone, just socialize and not feel like you're on your own. I feel like I'm on my own. My husband and I are like on our own. We have our daughter and that's it. Like I said, I've lived in that community my whole life, and I feel like I'm on the outside looking in.
What has, you said you were connected with Capstone, and I'm just wondering if they have, tried to help you find something that you are able to afford.
Well, she's tried. Casey Rival has worked her little butt off trying to help us, get applications into here, get applications into there, and they have 2 to 3 year waiting lists. So, and that's, Section 8. It's to not have the certificate for like ourselves to find an apartment that has a Section 8 attached to it.
Oh, I'm just going to mention something that you might not be aware of. In Waterbury, there is, I know you don't want to necessarily move from Randolph, but there's a new building that is income-based that is accepting applications right now from downstate housing.
Okay, that'd be something to check.
Right, so check in with your Capstone worker, and they're accepting applications right now. They just put out a call for applications.
Okay,
so I don't know about the pet thing. That's going to be the thing, but
Yeah, the pet thing is last summer, we spent staying underneath the underpass up here across from the cemetery. And we became a little homeless group.
Yep, I remember seeing campers there.
Yeah, and for people who are homeless, maybe have mental illness, maybe not, their pets are their lifeline. The pet is there when you cry. It's there when you feel stressed. I can take my dog for a walk and feel better.
Yeah, yeah.
Or I can sit there and hang out with my cat and watch TV, and cat is all snuggly and wants to, and that bring my heart rate down, bring my blood pressure down.
They give you unconditional love.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't, the only unconditional love I feel right now is from my husband, my animals, and my daughter. My social circle is about that big. I do martial arts on Wednesday night. Don't have to pay. My martial arts teacher does not charge. He teaches kids from 4 years old and all the way up.
Can I just interject something?
Sure.
I used to be one of his students.
Oh, nice.
So I think we
Yep.
knew each other from that.
Yeah, we did.
Had that in common.
Nice.
And I do archery on Thursday nights. And they gave us since we're low income, so low income, they just let us come.
Nice.
So I kind of got that kind of started. So, but still,
You're
I'm
reaching out to try to
trying to do something.
connect with other people. Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
That's important.
And I really appreciate that you've connected with the students and that you've
Yes.
opened up. I'm sure it's not easy to open up to
No.
folks at Capstone or to us, but that your willingness to support these students in their learning
That's nice.
is great. I'm curious from the students' perspective, are there things that you maybe started looking at these issues and thought one thing and maybe learned something different or something that was new to you in this process?
Yeah, I mean, we learned a lot about the funding that goes towards unhoused people and the problem in Vermont. And we learned that, you know, like 200 to 400 million went into this since 2019. And I thought a lot about that in like, where did that money priority or like go necessarily? Did it go towards, like after talking a lot to her, there's a lot of these bigger communities with a lot of help, but where does that necessarily go to the smaller communities as well? You think the vast majority goes to the hubs like Burlington or Montpelier or Essex, where you say that there's all these opportunities for housing and Section 8 housing. Do you think smaller communities are under prioritized and that leads to the 300% increase since 2019?
I think that's a good question. When there's a bill that we worked on here in our committee, H 938, that is actually downstairs in the Senate Health and Welfare Committee. That is all about housing and homelessness and trying to prioritize there really isn't a system the way we would like you want to think about a system. The resources that you're talking about was all really during COVID time. And it really, the vast majority of that was spent on hotels to, keep people safe in individual rooms during hotels. And so we are trying to wean ourselves off from the use of those hotels as being kind of the source of shelter for people and trying to move to a place where an individual or a family could have better case management services to help them find housing. And because of the cutbacks on the federal level for rental subsidies, we instituted in this bill a state-run rental subsidy program. So, there is, I guess I would say, some hope on the horizon that things can change. And when you were talking about more rural communities, we actually had a big conversation about that here, in particular during sort of the extreme cold weather shelters when, places opened up. The money did go to the sort of primary larger communities. And we had a discussion about how do we get those resources to the smaller communities like Randolph or like, up in the Northeast Kingdom or in other places. So we were very much aware that those smaller communities, you might say weren't getting their sort of fair share in the current resources. I'm glad you brought that up because that definitely was something that we talked about. But if you maintain your interest in this topic, H 938, to follow the progress of that over the next 2 weeks, because we will need to be taking action if that bill is going to pass. We've passed it out of the House. It's in the Senate right now, and they're working on it. And so this is sort of our major effort to create a more logical system. It has over $82 million associated with that bill to help people who are homeless. So it is interesting what you've learned. How did you, as students, how did you decide to sort of tackle the issue of housing and homelessness? I mean, how did that rise to your consciousness?
Well, it was one of the larger topics at the beginning of the year that we talked about. And then we got into contact with Casey at Capstone through Bev and Tev. And she had the idea with us to like interview some unhoused people. So started.
We're talking about the food truck project.
One of our other projects was working with the tech center at our high school to provide hot meals during the winter time at the food shelf. So we did, four hot meals in every week of February. It's like, yeah. So that was part of it too.
Good.
I think, if I could just add one, I think something you've also hit upon is the way that government operates that I'm not sure is fully understood by people, and I'm not sure I had a full understanding until I came here 2 years ago, is how much of what is done by state government is done through partners in the community, capstones.
Yeah.
So whether it's housing and homelessness, mental health, home health care, whatever it may be, there are lots of things that we rely upon partners. So, and there are always those network of partners in every community. And Capstone is, sort of based, I believe, in Montpelier, but they spread out. They spread out some. Other organizations have areas that they try to capture within the service area, but it's not always a complete net that's cast, and that's a challenge. And as Chair Wood said, part of this bill, I think, was a recognition that maybe a municipality in some smaller towns during that extreme cold weather periods could do something. They may have something in mind that they can do because they might not have a local resource that's operating full time in helping people.
Representative Steady?
I don't know about cats, but have you worked on getting your dog as a service animal? Because I know a lot of income-based living seniors that I know personally, and they're allowed to have a service animal. Have you worked with your doctor and told him your circumstances?
My doctor said I could have him as an emotional support animal.
Yeah, so
She's already put it in my chart, but some people do not consider emotional support animal a service animal.
have you checked in?
Down Street does.
Yeah,
Down Street.
a lot of places where I live, and 9 times out of 10, they're not gonna allow me to have him if he's a pit bull.
Oh, yeah, insurance. No, well, I
Yeah,
don't want to, but unfortunately, I love pit bulls and I love all animals, but.
I mean, when I adopted him,
Insurances.
I had a place to live and everything, and she said I could have him, and I adopted him. Because the dog and I have something in common. We come from a checkered past. He was abused, I was abused, we're good. So it's,
I want to tell you how lucky your dog is. to have you.
he's very lucky. He was
Blessed.
he was a bait dog for pit fighting.
Oh, poor puppy.
So,
You're gonna get me crying because I'm a wicked dog.
oh, me too. I'm a wicked pet person. I mean,
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm one
So I
cat
feel
short of the
for
crazy
you.
cat lady. So,
And I'm the crazy dog.
I won't ask you what the, okay. So if you have 5, then you're,
I have 4 cats
okay.
and I have my dog. It was an 84-pound dog.
I'm a crazy dog.
But if you get a fit cat, then 6 is the number for.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's adjustable.
It is adjustable. It's like, it's like, a potato chip. You can, now you have one.
I know.
Yeah. I always grew up with animals, and animals were my thing.
I have 6 dogs, 2
Yeah,
rabbits.
well, when I was a kid growing up, we had a lot of cats. Because we lived next to the river, had rats. But, and
So I'm interested, in hearing from the students. I understand you gave a presentation recently at a gathering, a workshop on the issues with housing and homelessness. So how did that go for you?
It went well. We mostly just played the piece we played for you earlier, and Jubilee was there, just how we kind of got connected with this. For a while we had done some other interviews with people in our town, but not really any unhoused people. And we were trying to think about how we want to put our interviews into something presentable. Because you can do an interview, but whether you put it in a paper or podcast or online, we didn't really have a clear plan. So housing conference was kind of a good place to we had it was probably 40, 50 minutes of the whole interview. We condensed it, and then just shared it at the housing conference, which I think was a good success for our class, because we had been wanting to actually show our work somehow.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity to do that. And Representative McGill came back and said, we have to have these people in committee. So she was impressed, with your work. How is it working as a team? So the 4 of you, I don't know if there was anybody else, but the 4 of you were working on this together, and it seemed like different people took on different roles. So how was that working as a team?
Yeah, I think it was really beneficial to have each other. We, a lot of what our class is kind of communicating, having ideas, coming together. So through that, I think we fostered all of the different components to this. We did a lot of music for this as well. We made it personal. We reached out to people in the community, and I think that unhoused forum was the stepping stones to make this real and to make a change and to tell a story and to provide, because we did a lot of different interviews at the start of the year and didn't really go anywhere. And now it feels amazing to actually be able to do that and provide help and have it feels super meaningful to have a class like that in school where you're always focused on science or some of the core curriculums, and now this is more community based, and that's the whole point of this class, and I really felt it this year.
Not all the schoolwork you do ends up being heard by state legislators.
So you guys want me to share?
Do you want to share a little bit about overall? I've seen you guys really hustle and try to provide for your community, and what we're seeing in terms of not just elevating voices in need, but do you want to share what other things that you tackled this year?
We did we called it Randolph Refuel as a play on words. We got the RTCC, Randolph Technical Career Center food truck and we got the culinary students to help us out with providing hot meals for people at the food shelf for 4 weeks. I went to one of them, but I don't think I saw very many people come in. I saw people come in, but there wasn't any long lines. I was expecting long lines.
I think we served more than 200 meals over the course of
That's days.
You guys also did kind of a side project.
Yeah.
Related to that.
Oh, yeah, we did a clothing drive as well. And we had a table full of winter clothes available for people to have while we were serving food.
So how did that work? Did you reach out to the community to ask for donations of clothing?
We have another project that we have is a thrift store in our school, but it's all free. So students or teachers at the school can donate clothes there, and then it's available for anyone who needs anything. So we borrowed some winter clothes from there,
and also had a few posts on like the Porch Forum and stuff asking for more winter clothes donations.
Yeah, go ahead, Representative Giordano.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Well, I was just say, just to contextualize that a little bit, and maybe one of the students wants to speak to this. One of the things we talked about a lot about in this class is the stigma that is attached to socioeconomic class, and often that stigma gets attached to like a condition like being unhoused, but also to accessing many of the supports and resources that might help people. So I think that with a lot of these projects, like one of the things that was really at the center of your guys' thinking about how you want to approach it was think about how can we reduce that stigma. And I also know, I wanted to flag, and maybe someone wants to return to this, that we had been looking at H 938 actually just before we came here, and also had questions / concerns around, kind of related to that theme. Hey, I know that was something that you had some things to say. Do you want to talk about that right now, or?
Yeah, I think so. So, Act 772, I understand that that's been passed already in the Senate.
In the House.
In the House.
I think you may actually be thinking about 938 with what you have. Yeah, we looked at both of those bills.
Yeah, 938.
So, yeah.
And there's some potentially ableist, oh, that was 772.
What is?
772.
Oh, the link, yeah.
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 Because there's
Thank you.
a bit of,
Sorry, I remember.
there's a bit of terminology and motives that kind of, that violate the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Preach.
We agree.
Yes, that bill did not come out of our committee.
No. Some was voted
Yeah.
against it, but not enough.
And so I guess I'm one more person voting against it. Good.
You're at the table.
Get elected.
girl.
So it's putting them into specially qualified kind of do you have the thing on hand so I can read it off?
I can pull it up. This is.
You just hand that to Taya.
There you go.
So they're putting requirements on conditions for accessing shelters where you have to have a treatment plan or whatever.
That was 938.
Oh, that was 938.
That was 938.
Yeah, so that's 938. Okay. I'm getting my bills mixed up.
That's good, keep speaking to.
And that is ableist because as Shannon had said, there's a lot of stigma around having drug conditions. Not every homeless person is a drug addict, and not every drug addict is a homeless person. And it puts a lot more stigma on disabled people, especially people that aren't you can look at them and not know that they're disabled until they tell you or you figure that out yourself. And we're supposed to be, I feel in a way, we are supposed to be making sure that they belong, that the disabled population and the neurotypical population can belong with one another and coexist. And having sorry, it's a little bit awkward. Having conditions for homelessness.
Excuse me. We have somebody testifying.
Mention what people need before they.
Sorry, I bought them all.
Yeah, let's listen to their feedback.
Yeah.
So that the issue around you had mentioned.
It was a nice thing. I went and bought them all.
You mentioned that we had all talked about this, where you had mentioned that you, that for people to get healthy, right? They need a place to stay.
Yeah, they
So
do.
having those conditions.
Having a lot of people that are like going under like addiction or things like that, they have to be able to get sober at some point, and they need that like support from other people, whether those other people or addicts or not, are also like, and then having like then having it so, and like a lot of those people are homeless, but that they didn't choose to do that. So like, if this is all making sense, like, homeless people who are addicts or in similar like situations, financially unstable, mentally unstable, physically unstable, no offense. God, I said physically unstable, that's, anyway, any kind of instability, they should be able to access what they need, and that's in some cases like a place to stay when they can't afford it or all that stuff. So they're like, so like putting them in like specially whatever.
Special like requirements or conditions.
Special requirements or conditions, I feel like is potentially ableist. In school, a lot of kids, like me, I'm neurodivergent. I'm autistic, I think. They have accommodations. Like they don't have, they have accommodations so they can like, if they have to like do, like if they have to do a test and they can't do it in the classroom for one reason or another, they can go down to another room and work on it there, for example. Like instead of, I feel like maybe instead of like having special, like having that kind of like, again, that kind of terminology and motive that I feel could potentially be ableist and possibly a lot that could possibly be stigmatizing for them. What about accommodations? So like the other people that if they're in a group home and there's one or two more people that are neurotypical, they can know, hey, this person has accommodations.
Yeah, so acknowledging that.
Yeah, thank you. Shannon, I'm curious for your perspective on this too. So I think when we did the interview, last month, you were talking about some of the ways that that like conditions or requirements to access shelter or to access subsidized housing sometimes lead to people like making the choice to stay outside or stay in kind of less stable. Can you talk about that a little bit? Like, did you find personally, or have you talked to people who have found that, like in order to stay at a shelter, you need to do X, Y, Z, and that kind of creates a reason why people choose not to access shelter?
Well, my husband and I came to a point when we called to see if we could get into somewhere for the winter. They would allow my dog, an 84-pound pit bull, into their hotel, but they wouldn't accept my cats. I couldn't fathom it. I'm like, you're going to allow a big dog into your hotel, but you're not going to allow a cat. Come on. And that prevented us from, we made the choice because we were not abandoning our pets. Like I said before, our pets are everything. My daughter helps take care of those pets too, because she's technically supporting two families, her own and us. She will buy cat food for them, dog food, whatever needs to be done. I don't ask her, but I feel terribly guilty of taking money away from her family. And it's only her and her boyfriend, but still, I'm taking money away from her. Oh, Mom, don't worry about it. We'll be fine. And I feel guilty. And I bet you a lot of people choose, for whatever reason, to not go into a shelter or something, you know. And people are gonna say, well, they chose to be that way. I didn't choose, I made my priorities. My mind is, I've got my animals, took them into my life. I am not responsible for them. One way, shape, or another. And there's a lot of shame, a lot of guilt for being homeless. I tell people we're homeless and they look at me like I just grew another head. And they judge me like that. Do you think I chose to be this way? Oh, hell no. I'd love to be into an apartment or something. But campers are not built in the wintertime.
Vermont.
Not in Vermont. And we did consider, you know, since we have a camper, we could go south. But then that takes us away from our daughter. And she's the only one I got left, as my great aunt died last year. A woman who raised me like her own child. She bent over backwards to help us too. Even when we had an apartment, because we paid almost all of our money to have it, she would help us all the time.
Did you lose your apartment because essentially were the rents raised or was?
She sold the property. And then told us when she was 3/4 of the way through the process. So we didn't get our 30 days to get out.
And so people, and the other people weren't going to rent, or they raised the rent, or?
She sold her property to somebody else. And somebody else did not want us.
No.
So we got out in about 10 days. I mean, I had to go hunt for a camper, make sure we had a truck to pull it, and gave up so much stuff. I lost all my law books from college. I wanted to keep those. Lost my daughter's baby book. I can't replace that.
Hard. It's hard.
And
Yeah, so I think that, sorry, Ken, I don't want to.
you're fine. I'm about to lose it, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's heartbreaking. I think that one of the things we just really ask the committee to consider as you're voting or as you're, you know, looking at future bills around this is that I think that there is often, you know, we're talking about this idea of stigma and that public policies that are theoretically designed to help people often, I think, create barriers to access and reinforce or deepen these stigmas. And at least in my view, I don't know if you guys would agree with this, that it sometimes seems like it sort of starts with this assumption that people who are unhoused don't work the same way that the rest of us do, right? And I think that like when we think about the pet requirements, like how many people in this room who have pets would willingly get rid of them so that you could move? Like that's not a reasonable thing to ask people to do. And I think, you know, thinking what you were saying about, you know, that there's, you know, you considered leaving to go somewhere where it's warmer, but your family and your support network and your community is in Randolph. And so whether it's moving to the south or even to Waterbury, right? Like when we don't make these services accessible in every community, you're setting up this expectation that people need to give up things that are important to them. And I think that any of us would recognize are important just on a human level. And so, you know, I think that from all of the interviews and research we've been doing, it really feels like a consistent theme is that means testing programs or putting conditions on programs or failing to think about the diverse experiences that people have in different kinds of communities or with different kinds of bodies or minds or whatever, is going to inevitably end up kind of undermining the efficacy of those programs. So
And it's dehumanized.
And
Very dehumanizing.
dehumanized.
I mean, if my dad watches this, oh, wait, do I wanna say what it?
It's up to you, babe.
Oh, God. I have witnessed like I'm in the car driving past and they're driving past homeless people and like not even I don't even like people that are like holding up signs like I need cash for food and they're just standing out on the interstate or on near like the highway and it's like get a job or like whatever like thinking that they're
You're saying that's something that people would say about people in that situation.
yeah like get a job or whatever and it's like they didn't choose to do that they didn't choose to stand out in the street and they're not drug addicts they're probably just people like and especially like it's especially when those people are immigrants and there's a lot of stigma around like illegal immigrants and things like that and what if they're illegal what if they're legal immigrants what if they're just homeless what if they didn't want to be homeless they want to live and no matter how many people give them cash I feel like what outweighs that is probably the sheer amount of people there are probably more people that don't do anything or just tell them like don't get a job or honk at them or give them the middle finger and are like no I'm not helping you like there's probably more people out there now especially the current administration that are doing that than actually helping them and realizing these are people too we are not the only people.
And to see them standing out there when it's 20 below, you think they're standing out there for their health? Even me being homeless, me being really short on cash, if I see someone standing out there, if I've got a little bit of cash, I give it to them. I don't care how they use it. It's up to them, not me. Or if they're standing out there with their dog or something. If I've got a little extra dog food, or I might go to the store and buy the cheapest dog food you can find, and I'll give them that because I know what it's like. And the humiliation they must feel having to stand out there with a little sign and having everybody going by,
Every single freaking, I don't even know if I want to say it, people, those followers honking or giving the middle finger. There's probably quite a few people that have given the middle finger. I'm like, that's sad. That's humiliating. That can make somebody angry. That can bring them down.
Well, and you bring up a good point, honey, right? Like, whose lives are more valuable?
Right.
Who deserves housing?
Right.
And don't we all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
I have to go with my therapist on this.
Yeah.
Do I deserve this?
Yeah.
Yes, I've gotten to a point where I'm like, whatever.
I think that you all sort of bring us back to the reality day in and day out that we all at one point or another have judged other people according to our own values, and that we need to be careful because we haven't walked in that person's shoes, and their story is unique to them. Each one of us sitting around the table or sitting in this room, our story is unique to us, and no one looking from the outside in really knows that story. And we shouldn't make judgments about people's stories or assertions about, what they should be doing or what they shouldn't be doing. And, I think that's something that y'all have learned through this process, I'm sure, and it's something that we have to make sure that we do here in this building as well. And it's hard. We have to check ourselves every day, to make sure that we're not doing that. It's kind of human nature sometimes to do the very things that you were just talking about, Tay. And it's, we try to be better as humans and to help each other. And I think that you are doing an amazing job shining a light on that. And, I hope you do encourage people to come and, look us up on YouTube under House Human Services on YouTube. And you can share this with other people. They'll be able to see.
Send you all that link.
To see here. Oh, okay, great. Thank you, Jubilee. And I just want to say thank you for spending the time coming here this morning. And as your advisor said, not every high school project gets to come to the legislature and testify before a relevant human services or relevant legislative committee. I do want to point out in 938 that it's not just people with disabilities who have to have a plan, it's everybody. So trying not to segregate out people with disabilities, because as you said, everybody, and it's really about trying to personalize what would be helpful for that individual. So we really, really thank you for being here this morning. And I believe that Representative Steady has paid for a snack or something. Sweet treat down in the cafeteria, did you say? So if you want to get there before the rush gets there, she has treated you all to some sweet treats down there. So thank you all for being here so much, and thank you, Jubilee, for.
Thank you so much. I'm so surprised at how enlightening this was.
It's what we do up here.
It's pretty light.
Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. Yeah, we're done for lunch.